Alright, so in this video we're going to be converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. We'll start off with going from decimals to fractions. So here's one, 0.7. Now if you'll remember, this first decimal place is the tenths place. So 0.7, well that's just the same thing as 7/10. Okay, here two decimal places. The first is the tenths, the second is the hundredths. So 0.43 is the same as 43 hundredths. And here, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So this is the same thing as 619 thousandths. Okay, so if you'll look at these, check it out. The number of places, or the number of numbers, after the decimal is the same as the number of zeros in the denominator. One decimal place, 1 0. Two decimal places, 2 zeros. Three decimal places, 1, 2, 3 zeros. So when you're converting decimals to fractions, that is a great way to start if you can remember that the number of decimal places is the same as the number of zeros. Now in all these cases we can stop because we can't reduce them. But for some of the ones you're going to need to do, you're going to have to keep going and reduce them a little bit more. So as I said here again, the number of decimal places is the same as the number of zeros in the denominator. We want to reduce our answer as much as possible. So here, let's look at this guy. 0.32. Well, 0.32, the correct way I suppose to say that is 32 hundredths. And now we got to reduce. So let's see, what can I divide into both of those? Let's see, well they're both even, so let's divide them by 2. Okay, 32 divided by 2, that's 16. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Oh, I still got even numbers. Let's keep going. I'll divide by 2 again. Some of you may have seen a shorter way to do this problem, and that's fine. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 50 divided by 2 is 25. I cannot go any further, and that is that. Okay, now this one, 0.575. In other words, this is 575 thousandths. Three decimal places, 3 zeros. Okay, again, back up here, two decimal places, 2 zeros. That's how you get started. Well, what goes into both of those? Now this is a hard one. Well, they both end in a 5 and a 0, so that means I can divide them by 5. Alright, let's see here. Bottom one's easy. 1,000 divided by 5, well, that's just 200. What about 575 divided by 5? Gosh, I don't know. Let's see. 575 divided by 5. 5 into 5 once. 5 into 7 once. And 25, 5 goes into that 5 times. And we're done there. Oops, you can't see that. I'm sorry. So 5 goes into 575 115 times. So this is all just work on the side here. Sometimes you might have to do a little bit of long division to figure them out. So again, I'm here. I don't think I'm done because look, that ends in a 5. That ends in a 0. I can divide by 5 again. Okay, so 200 divided by 5. Well, that's 40. That's easy. Now let's do some more long division here. 115 divided by 5. So 5 doesn't go into 1, but 5 does go into 11 twice. Minus 10, 15. 5 goes into 15 3 times. Oh, cool. Okay then. So I said, oh cool, because 23 is one of those prime numbers, so I know I can't divide anything into 23 besides itself and 1. And we are done. So 0.575 is 575 thousandths, which reduces to 23 over 40, or 23 40ths. So again, as you're doing these, you want to reduce your answers as much as possible. Alright, so that should cover changing decimals to fractions. Okay, now let's go the other way. Let's go from fractions to decimals. So there's two ways we're going to do that. Okay, this first way is not so bad. We're going to make an equivalent fraction with a 10, 100, or 1,000 in the denominator. Of course, we could have 10,000 or a million or all kinds of things in the denominator, but for now we're just going to have 10, hundreds, or thousands. So it's 3/5. Well, look, I can make a 10 super easily. And to do that, I just multiply by 2. So remember, if I multiply the denominator, the bottom, by 2, I got to multiply the top by 2 also, and 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, 6 tenths. So if you remember, with decimals, the tenths is the first place, so 6 tenths is just 0.6. We're done. All right, 13/25. Well, I certainly can't go to tenths very easily because I'd have to kind of go backwards. I'd have to go lower. But I can go to hundredths pretty easily. So if I want to get 100 on the bottom, again, we're using 10, 100, or 1,000 because those are the places after the decimal. There's the tenths place, the hundredths place, or the thousandths place. So here I'm going to go to the hundredths place. So to do that, I got to times by 4. And let's see if I have enough room here to write it. I'm going to times that by 4. And 13 times 4, if you trust me, is 52. Okay? So I made 100 on the bottom, so that's 52 hundredths, which is 0.52. And we're done. Okay, so that's method number 1. Make a 10, 100, or 1,000 in the denominator, and then just write it as a decimal. Okay, again, tenths place is the first place, 2 places is the hundredths place, third place, if you ever need it on the worksheet, and you may, is the thousandths place. Okay, now it's not easy to do that. If you look at these next few numbers here, pardon my mess up here, I got a 16. Now there's no easy number I can times to 16 to make 100. So I'm going to have to go about this a different way. And to do that, we're going to do long division. And you do the top number divided by the bottom number, or the numerator divided by the denominator. Because remember, fractions are division. So I'm going to go 16 into 5, or 5 divided by 16. Well, 16 does not go into 5. That's a 0. So what we need to do is add a decimal. I'm going to put the decimal in after the 5 and add a 0. And then I swing the decimal straight up into my answer. Just go straight up. If you haven't done these in a while and you don't remember, and you put the decimal underneath the division symbol and then straight up above it into the answer. So how many 16s can I divide into 50? Well, let's see. That's going to be 3. 3 times 16 is 48. We just divide like normal. You don't need to put a decimal down here. We're just going to kind of pretend it doesn't exist because we put it in our answer. Okay, subtract, I get a 2. So it looks like I need to add another 0. We're going to keep going here. I think all the ones I'm going to give you are going to stop. Sometimes you can go, 3 places and then stop, or 4 places and then do some rounding depending on the problems. But for now, we're going to keep going until we can't go anymore. So that means adding zeros and dividing until we're done. So 0 goes here. I drop that down next to the 2. How many 16s go into 20? Well, 1 does. Okay, take away 16 and I get a 4. Okay, well, I got to keep going. So I'm going to make my division line a little longer. I'm going to add a 0, drop it down. How many 16s go into 40? Well, 2 of them do. And that's 32. Subtract, I got an 8. And then add one more 0, drop it down. I have 80. And I know that 16 times 5 is 80. So I'm going to be done because I'm all finished. There's nothing left at the bottom except for a 0. So 5/16 equals 0.3125. Now we haven't done anything with 4 decimal places, so just to remind you, that is the 10,000th place. So this is 3,125 10,000ths would be how you would say that. Okay, now I've got this one down here, and I'm going to write that over on the next side because I ain't got enough room. Pardon my bad English. Okay, so I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to do that over here. So 37 over 25 it was, 37/25. Now this one you'll probably notice, look, the top number here is bigger than the bottom number, so it's improper fraction. It's going to give us a mixed number, and that's okay. We're just going to have a whole number and a decimal. Okay, so I have 37 divided by 25. Okay, how many 25s go into 37? Well, 1 does. Minus 25, I get 12. Okay, so now I'm going to add my 0. Again, if you add I'm going to add a decimal first, and then I'll add a 0. If I put my decimal here, I need to swing it straight up above it into my answer and drop that down. So how many 25s go into 120? Well, 4 of them do, because 4 25s is 100. Subtract, I get 20. Let's add one more 0 and drop it down. I think I'll be done after this, because how many 25s divide into 200? Well, that's 8. And 8 times 25 is 200. Subtract them, I've got nothing, and I'm all done. So 37/25 is going to be the decimal 1.48, or 1 48/100. I suppose if you wanted, you could have converted this to a mixed number first, and then converted the fraction part of that into a decimal separately. You'd get the same thing. I just like to do it all in one step. So again, top divided by bottom, 37 divided by 25, add your decimal when you need to, and as many zeros as you need until it stops. As I said, for now, every problem I'm going to give you, the decimal should terminate or stop. It won't go on forever, and it won't repeat as far as I remember. And you just keep going until you can't go anymore, until you end up with a 0 at the bottom of your division. So those are the two methods. First one is the easy way to go, and most of the time, I think for now, you'll be able to do this for a lot of the problems. Just make a 10, 100, or 1,000 in the denominator. Or you've got to do some long division with a decimal in it until you can't go anymore to figure out your answer. All right, well, thank you very much, and please let me know if you have any questions whatsoever.